City Council will vote on the $5.4 million to go to public safety in Cincinnati, part of the bigger plan to crack down on violent crime. Thanks for joining us here at 11. I'm Adrian Whitsett. Earlier today, we heard from Governor Mike DeWine that the state has partnered with the city and with federal law enforcement. Some of what we can expect here includes the Ohio Highway Patrol tackling traffic enforcement, liquor permit compliance, even some aerial support. The governor and city leaders said they will be focused on violent repeat offenders. They stress, though, the state is not taking over. You can think of it, as they described, like a pyramid. Cincinnati police still lead from the top, the chief in charge. The other agencies, like the Ohio State Highway Patrol, U.S. District Attorney's Office, and U.S. Marshals, will serve as support. WCPO 9 News anchor Brett Bagansky shows us why now their prime focus is on repeat violent offenders, which in this case includes people prohibited from having guns.
A lot of it's intelligence driven.
A targeted operation by Cincinnati Police, State Highway Patrol, and U.S. Marshals.
These joint operations will be data driven.
Officers patrolling Cincinnati hotspots.
And will be directed based on the investigations that we're doing.
When officers can't be there,
the patrol will also provide aerial watch support, being the eye in the sky while our teams are on the ground.
And the target.
They're going to be someone who's committed a violent offense and someone who has a gun.
So in Ohio, the term for an armed repeat violent offender is sometimes called having weapons under disability.
It's kind of a strange term, but that's what really we are talking about. The federal law is just a lot tougher.
So I looked into it, and here's what I found out. A repeat offender faces 9 to 36 months in prison. That's if they're tried at the state level. But if they're prosecuted at the federal level, there's a mandatory minimum sentence of 15 years in prison.
We can take cases where a gun is seized at a traffic stop from a CPD officer on a violent offender, someone with, prior offenses for aggravated robbery, aggravated burglary.
We know that most gun crimes are committed by individuals who aren't legally allowed to possess a gun anyway. Every city in this country has a relatively small number of violent criminals who cause 80 to 90% of the violence. We know that by banding together and targeting these individuals, we can make a huge difference.
So, Brett, during this news conference this afternoon, they brought up two very specific cases. One of them is who killed 11-year-old Dominic Davis.
And Adrian, this is something I've covered since the beginning here. And I spoke to Dominic's father, Isaac, just briefly today. And he told me that he didn't know that this press conference was going on today. So we're now coming up on 2 years this November since somebody shot and killed Dominic Davis in the West End. I've kept in touch with his father, Isaac, during this time. And he says all along he knows somebody knows who killed his son, yet nobody's come forward. But you're going to hear once again with my conversation with him from back in January of 2024.
You would think 11-year-old innocent boy get gunned down in the community, someone would speak up.
If you had a message for people who may know something about who did this to Dominic, what would you tell them?
I would tell them to come forward, because if this was their kid or if this was their relative, they would want me or any one of us to do the same thing.
And just another reminder, there's still a reward from the ATF that's offering up to $7,500 for information that leads to the arrest of the person who killed Dominic Davis. But that wasn't the only one. The other case that they mentioned today was Patrick Herringer.
Yeah, this one from this summer. Super high profile. He was stabbed to death in his home in Over the Rhine. The man accused of killing him, allegedly violating his parole by cutting off his ankle monitor. And we spoke with his widow, Sarah, right after the announcement today. She told our Tanya Rourke she remains worried about judges letting people out of jail on low bonds and believes the city allowed crime to get out of hand, that the result was then her husband's death and other acts of violence we've seen. We've heard that concern from others in our community as well. So today we asked Mayor Aftab Puraval about it.
My message to the judges continues to be, we have serious public safety challenges that we're facing from city leadership, from our local law enforcement, and it is a recurring message that I hear from our police officers that they feel frustrated. They feel frustrated that they do all of this work, all of this investigative work, then the enforcement work, and unfortunately they see folks that they apprehend back on the street much sooner than they expect.
So I've been following this topic on public safety all summer long. So if you have questions or concerns you want to bring to me, and I'll bring to city officials, all you got to do is email me. My contact number is right on your screen. I will do my best to find you an answer.
You will.